I feel like the Navy's great and I don't regret my service at all, but it really has almost forced me to quiet down all these thoughts. Like it's
Mhm.
closed my mind. It's made it more narrow, or it tried, you know.
Yeah.
So it's been a constant battle to stay as thoughtful as I have here in this podcast, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I mean, again, let me know if we're getting into deep waters, right? And I don't even know. Maybe I'm going to deep waters, but I'm kind of flying off
I
the
could always
handle
cut it
lately.
out.
So we'll just fucking send it.
If anything, I could
Anyway,
always cut it
uh,
out.
as I was saying earlier, I'm a man of the Constitution, and I swore an oath to protect it. Um, it is my firm belief that this country and that this military is no longer carrying out that mission. Um, and again, it's maybe a result of the good times we're in. There's not a real war. We just pulled out of Afghanistan, but like that wasn't something that I think anybody was holding with the same gravity as World War II or World War One. You know, where it was everybody in the country is thinking about it every day. Like we have to do something to help the war effort. I have somebody that's in the war. You know, it's not
Mhm.
like that. And it wasn't like that with Afghanistan, at least not recently. Maybe closer to 2001 it was, but um, we're just in good times right now. And I don't know. It's a little bit scary, you know, with the climate that we're in. And I feel like we've strayed very far from the Constitution. And I personally think that if I'm going to serve a government or a military that's supposed to be protecting it, then I would like it to fulfill that mission. And I don't think it's
Yeah.
doing that any longer. So, long story short, I'm supposed to be getting out next June, and I hope that that happens. um, if we go back to Afghanistan, then you know there might be a draft or a involuntary extension of orders. I don't know,
Mhm.
but yeah. In addition to that, on another point, this might be cut out or whatever, but um, they are going to be mandating the vaccine soon, and I disagree with the vaccine. I won't be getting it, and they might kick me out of the military. So that could be happening very, very soon. So I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I've
just
been
what I have
hearing
on
a
that.
lot of the mandate vaccines and the controversy around it because yeah, it's like just having conversation in general right now about the vaccine is like "Ugh," because of how people are. Regardless, we need to have the conversation because that's the point of it. And I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, that's a very difficult thing to do with trying to mandate a vaccine because like obviously you have to first raise the question whether or not they have the authority to do so because like trying to think of an example because I mean like for example with our first amendment right we have the right to free speech without any type of government entity or body interfering with our way of life. And actually I have the constitution actually handbook right up on my my shelf. But I don't know, it's mandatory vaccine is a very touchy subject because I mean if you have any type of different disagreeing opinion or different view on the vaccine, then you're just immediately labeled as anti-vaxxer. You're refusing to take it and everything. And a lot of those words are subliminal and manipulative, like using the word refuse. People are refusing to use the vaccine. It's not so much that people are refusing, it's just some people are declining. Just like there are people that say, and no, I won't get the tetanus shot, and no, I won't get the flu shot, or like, and no, I don't feel like going out tonight. That's not that's not making them antisocial. That's not making them a villain or anything. It's just they disagree. And you know, it's I may be overstepping as well. Again, I could be entirely wrong about this. Everything I say, and I accept it wholeheartedly. I accept the criticism, but I don't know. I don't feel like mandating the vaccine is a smart move because after all, this is America. We have our constitutional rights, we have our God-given rights and our natural rights. And we should have a say in what foreign substances enter our body, especially since the whole topic of the vaccine has been so propaganda. Prop, there's been so much propaganda around it that first off, you can't even tell the difference between fact and fiction with everything going on in the vaccine, because how much propaganda is being circulated around to begin with. And then because people are becoming so close-minded that the moment you say anything that doesn't fit their narrative, they just shut you out or just attack you. And I'm also seeing the issue of it's for the greater good. Yeah, no, it's the greater good. Using that term has always led to more evil and carnage in history. Like based off the history that I read, what happened during Soviet Union when Joseph Stalin, Vladimir Lenin was rising power, it was for the greater good. Kim Jong Un and his ancestors rise to power in North Korea was for the greater good. Pol Pot in Cambodia, when he uh, indoctrinated children into his ideology and those children ended up wiping out entire villages, that was for the greater good. With Idi Amin in Uganda, it was for the greater good. With the president of Zimbabwe, it was for the greater good. And those are just examples, historical examples, but it's in regards to like the vaccine, we need to be able to balance out the importance of not only the greater good, but the individual. Because if you start to neglect and target the individual for the essence of the greater good, at what point do you have to look at yourself in the mirror and realize and come to the fruition that maybe you are the evil that's coming to fruition? If that makes sense. And again, that's my own tangent, and I could be entirely wrong about that. I accept being wrong wholeheartedly, especially because around the vaccine. So it's like this is open, speculative thought, personal opinion. We're not saying that anything is grounded or permanent, but we're exercising our right to speak freely and to think freely because you know what? That's what America is about. We were raised on the ideas of America and the essence of it's okay for us to be who we are and to express ourselves. And we shouldn't have any type of societal force, government force, or anything of that nature pressuring us like that. It's we're
Yeah,
allowed to have our own decisions.
I am so supportive of the Constitution and why I'm proud to be an American, why that I like America is because it's outlined a system that's so flexible that I mean, if you really do follow it, it should be very possible for anyone of any background, any passion, any lifestyle to come here, live their life, and support, if not have zero effect on the productivity of the country. If you're
Mhm,
here, you're living here as a good citizen, you're supporting the country to some degree. You don't have to become a top CEO
mhm,
of a Fortune 500 company to support the economy. You can be living on a small piece of land in the middle of nowhere of
mhm,
Alaska, and you're still going to be paying some taxes or something of that nature to support the country and
mhm,
whatever we are moving forward to achieve as a, a country. Um,
mhm,
and I love that. I really do because it doesn't matter if you're on the left, on the right, if you're anti-vax, for vax, if you're just benevolent to it all, like you don't want to be involved in any of this stuff. You can still just find your place, live
mhm,
there, try to be happy, and you will be supporting the country in some way. Um, and I think that's awesome.
mhm,
That's why it's something that I support. And I feel that doing things like this, mandating a vaccine or, you know, other very extreme things like this is going against the constitution and why I don't support it. I just feel like
mhm,
if you want to get it, go get it. If you
mhm.
don't,
Yeah,
you know,
individual liberty.
individual liberty. And that's just the amazing thing about America is that the individual can do what the individual does and it will still support the greater good. So that now that they're trying to wipe that away and circumvent it to where it's just like, no, the individual must do what's for the greater good
Mhm,
is false because just being here is for the greater good, you know?
mhm,
And again, maybe I can be the more extreme person here and you can stay more objective and try to be the mediator between me and society, but that's one of my viewpoints on immigration, is that let people in, let them become citizens, because as soon as they do, they're going to be paying taxes, they're going to be buying products, they're going to support the country.
Mhm.
There's no way around that either. You know, more
Yeah.
people here means more economic stimulation. So I don't see anything wrong with it. However, you know, with all the negative things that come with bad people that come across the border, whether or
Yeah.
not they're of that race, because we have two borders, we have immigration from flights, you
Mhm.
know, and now there's probably gonna be many people that are angry about Afghanis coming here as refugees, you know. So
Yeah.
there's risks with all of that, but needless to say, the more people in the country, the more economic stimulation, the more economic stimulation, the better our capitalistic society will run. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, you're not far fetched on that at all, and you are pretty spot on with it. I would also add to it as well. What was I gonna say? Um, yeah, like I have no like bringing people in, have them go through the process, and they become citizens. You know, that's what the American dream is. That's why there's always been the sense of urgency for whenever there's some type of serious world conflict and they're refugees as a result. They typically come to the US. I mean, they'll go to other countries as well, but the US is a very common one for it. Welcome the people in. Let's get them through the process. Let's make them citizens so we can all benefit from it. But we have to acknowledge that we have to have, you know, some caution in the wind, because I mean the fact that 60% of human trafficking victims across the southern states are Hispanic, that's like a clear indicator of some issue and whatnot. And I could probably be going off tangent with that, but yeah, no, but I agree with what you're saying, and it's not too far fetched. It's a reasonable conversation, especially around an important issue, which conversation is needed in order to help find solutions for that issue.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I fear if they do make, because this is how I've described it. It's already worrying me that the government is going to mandate it for its military and government employees. The next step after that would be mandating it for the citizens,
Mhm.
which I feel is quite unconstitutional. And I think the next step towards our hard times created by weak men, and closer to a 1984 Big Brother style of life, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
So, uh, if that does happen, I think that bad things will ensue, or at least bad things will start to
Mhm.
build, you know. So
Yeah.
I hope they don't, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, I kind of get that I've been getting that same vibe. 1984, Anthem by Ayn Rand, We the Living. And I mean, they're fictional books, but the people that wrote them lived through these things. So they purposely put lessons and truths into it. And I don't think we should discount their lessons at all. I think we, especially nowadays, we need to look very closely at it. And, you know, of course, as I keep on repeating as a broken record, it's could be completely wrong and is what it is. Okay with the criticism. I'm okay with being wrong. But yeah, I won't lie, I get some of the 1984 vibes, Big Brother vibes, stuff like that. Especially if you try to mandate it across everyone. Because again, the beauty of individual liberty is that if you've done your research and you feel safe and you want to take the vaccine, go right ahead. If you want to still wear a mask, go right ahead. That is your choice. Now respect those decisions. But you create an issue where you try to generalize and enforce that across everybody, because just like that person has the right to get the vaccine and to wear a mask, there's the other side where people have a right to not get the vaccine and not wear a mask. We just got to learn to respect that, not be so quick to attack and everything, because that's the problem with the greater good. Are we going to start seeing now that people who don't want the vaccine, don't want to wear masks, which are for various reasons, can either be perfectly logical reasons or completely irrational reasons? If they start getting attacked and targeted by the greater good, then there's a serious issue coming into frame. And then again, the biggest talking point that that has existed in the U.S. ever since 1776, ever since the Constitution was ratified in 1778, it has always raised the question of what authority our government has, not what it can, not what all it's supposed to do, but if it has the authority. And considering that, like, mandates for all citizenry and then like all military and everything, yeah, I feel like that's stepping into some unconstitutional boundaries. And again, I'm not a law expert, I'm not anything like that. I could be completely wrong, but I have the Constitution. I've read it. I even have highlights of it all throughout. And I also do my best to do my own research. Like, I have John Adams' American Revolution, 1776 by David McCulloch. I have the Federalist Papers by Alexander Hamilton. I have um, books by Thomas Jefferson. So I am quite literally
Nice.
doing, yeah, and like right here, Thomas Paine. Oh shit, I accidentally knocked my stuff. But Thomas Paine was one of the most pivotal um, writers during the American Revolution. He also wrote Common Sense. He also has The Rights of Man. There's also Jean Jacques Rousseau, who wrote On the Social Contract. So it's like, I'm not going into these conversations completely blinded and not like understanding the full grasp of it. And I'm doing my best to research it, but the research and studying that I'm doing, I'm going straight to the very beginning of what America was and started out as. And I'm moving from there. And I'm just kind of starting from there and moving my way up through our history, because I mean, you can't really have, I don't want to say you can't have an opinion, but you don't really know and understand the full grasp of things unless you do that research.
Yeah, I can definitely understand where you're coming from. It definitely brings a little bit more credibility if you can say that you read the original writings of many of the people who constructed the Constitution. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, no, I agree with you there. Um, and I don't know. I feel like anybody who's watched to this point is gonna want to know. But as far as my reasoning for not getting it, it's so I always get it right out of the way in the beginning. It's not like a medical thing, right? Like, I'm not afraid of the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a fucking unit, and that anything you put in my body's either gonna take on board or destroy it. Which is just a joke. Because if you load fucking like rattlesnake venom into my veins, you're probably gonna kill me. But anyway, no, I'm not really afraid of the vaccine. I know enough people that have gotten it that seem fine right now. Whatever
Yeah, same.
long-term effects, fuck it. Like, we'll see what happens in 10 years. Maybe none of them will be affected at all. Um, so it's not like I'm scared of it from like a scientific point or a medical standpoint. It's literally just uh the sketch about it. Like, it's sketchy. How many people I know that have had it that got over it just fine, and that it's the same exact symptoms as the flu, the cold, a bunch of things that it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And that I I I'm pretty sure my 90-year-old great grandma had it, and it's right before she passed, but you know, she had it and she got over it.
Mm-hmm.
My parents have had it. I'm pretty sure I've had it. My grandparents have had it. Like, plenty of people that I know personally. I knew them here in Connecticut at work, had it. People back home had it. Like, there's just so many countless cases of people that I know personally that I can say anecdotally, not from like reading a fucking thing online, that
Mm-hmm.
have had it and they're fine.
Yeah.
And then they want to push it on us and tell us that it's going to save the world and that it's for the greater good. And I just don't see the proof in the pudding. And like, I
Yeah.
just don't. Like, it seems like the amount of hype that they're making for it and the actual what I'm seeing are so far from each other. There's such a disparity in like the realness and what they're making it out to be, that it makes me very uncomfortable to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been telling people, like, if they didn't have a season, if the military didn't tell me to go to medical and get my vaccine for the flu, I probably would forget about it,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't affect me that much. Like, I don't notice it until someone says, "Hey, you're up for your vaccine." That's really the only reason I go to get the flu vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And if the vaccine had been FDA approved and put onto that panel that I get every year without any hubbub about it, then it would have gone in my system, no questions, if and or buts.
Yeah.
So what else is there? It's really just that. It's that uneasiness about how big they're exploding it to be,
Hmm.
whenever from experience on the ground in fucking cities, in towns with real people, it does not seem like it needs to be up here. So
Yeah.
why are they doing it? Right. And I've
Yeah.
made the comment before, they're mandating it to the military. What is a better way of getting people that aren't willing to listen to the government out? Mandate this vaccine, and anybody who's willing to be a counter thought to the government and what they want are going to get kicked out,
Hmm.
which is me, right? Like I'm counter, like I don't trust what they're saying. I don't agree with it. So how can they get me out? They're going to mandate the vaccine and get me out. And now all that's going to be left in the military are the people that are willing to follow everything
Yeah.
that the government says. So if we're leading to this Big Brother 1984 style of government, it kind of
Yeah.
seems like the plan's carrying out. Like it kind of freaks me out in that way, like just on a bigger grand scale. If there's a revolution, if there's like socialist, communist takeover or whatever, um, these are the kind of things that I'm thinking about whenever they're mandating the vaccine and how dramatic they're being about it when it really doesn't seem like that big of a deal realistically.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's why I won't be getting it.
Yeah.
And if they kick me out, then I see it as a good thing because I don't want to support a military that's going to do that type of thing. I don't want to support a country that's going to do that type of thing. I support the Constitution, but currently the US government is not something that I agree with very often. So
Yeah.
that's that.
Yeah. And see, like right there is basically the gray area and the semantics that people are being blatantly ignorant about. Like it's either people are making it either black and white. It's either you take it or you don't. You're either a vaxxer or an anti-vaxxer. You're either a masker or anti-masker. It's like no, there is semantics. There's a gray area in between. The gray area in between is where we're going to be able to have conversation to identify the the ratio between the risks and the rewards. It is where we're going to identify the pros and the cons and where we're going to see if there are any potential issues. Because like yeah, it's in the long term, like could the vaccine have an effect on you, say 5, 10 years from now in a bad way, or not at all? Like we won't know until we find out. But
No, yeah.
yeah, but the more that especially the government and then our mainstream media, the more that you censor, the more that you try to control the speech around vaccines and everything and push it so hard in the essence of the greater good, the more pushback you're going to get as a result. And
And they have to know that.
yeah,
They do, which
yeah,
makes it even more sketch that they
hmm,
would continue to push it.
hmm, yeah, exactly. And
It's just
like the and so like part of it that I do understand with the government is the incentives aspect because um like for example during like all the civil rights movements in the mid to late 1900s when the government was getting involved in redoing the districts of all the school areas to try to more immerse the different ethnic and racial groups together to kind of eliminate the isolation and the separatism. That was the same instance as well. It was just the gray area, the semantics and whatnot, and then same with like affirmative action and everything as well. It's just they can't enforce it, so they have to offer incentives as a substitute. You offer kind of like, for example, during war times, the government would sell bonds. The By selling bonds, that gives an incentive for the citizenry to cooperate with the government, and in return, the government is getting resources and supplies for the war. So like right now, because they cannot enforce or mandate the vaccines, they're offering incentives instead, which I do understand. But yeah, it's the extent that it's getting pushed, the amount of societal pressure that's coming from it, it just doesn't sit right. And like I'm not making myself to be out anti-vaxxer either. It's if you want the vaccine, go ahead and get it. I'm not gonna hold you back from it. And I'm not
Oh
gonna
yeah.
try to
Yeah, no.
brainwash you or like manipulate or like, oh my God, you got the vaccine? Oh my God, what the hell is wrong with you? Like stuff
Yeah.
like that. I'm not gonna do that because I got
No, yeah.
family
My
and friends.
roommate got the vaccine. Like I'm not, I don't look at him
Exactly.
differently. Like it's like whatever,
Yeah,
Again, it's
exactly.
free choices. And I guess that might get muddied a little bit because I was getting pretty passionate about my argument, right? Like I don't make my argument to convince anybody else. I'm
Yeah,
just
it's just
saying
our
that
own
I
argument.
passionately feel like that for myself. Like that's
Right.
how strongly in myself I'm convinced not to get it. Not that I'm saying to anybody else, like, hey,
Yeah.
here's my argument. Now you have it. You have it. Like so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I'll say it right now. You and I we're having a genuine honest conversation between ourselves and trying to disseminate the echo chambers we have around the subject. We're
Sure.
not acting like we are all knowing in this, and we're not acting like we have our own narrative and that's the way to go. It's again just individual liberty, your own personal choice. It's we're not here to hate on anybody. I mean, the jokes and everything, talking shit on people and whatnot, but especially with the amount of all these people that are trying to influence others, especially like influence to take the vaccine or stuff like that and everything, I just don't like the pressure. I don't like the peer pressure at all. And that's why because obviously technically we're influencers as well. I mean, we're just a speck
Yeah.
of dust in the grand scheme, but on a technical term, we're influencers trying to influence people to an extent. And with that being said, I do not seek to influence or manipulate Buddy in any negative connotation whatsoever, nor do I have any malicious intent. I know I'm a good man and I know I only want to do good things. I'm not going to act like I am the all knowing person on, especially subject matters like this. But I'd at least like to have the conversation just for there. And for everybody that watches, don't don't take what we say at face value. Do your research. Do not again, just don't take it at face value. Don't be like with the clickbaiting and just immediately go based off what you see. Do your research. You do your research and then you make your own choice of whether or not you want the vaccine or you don't want the vaccine. And I will respect that decision. If everyone that I know gets the vaccine and if I'm the only person that doesn't get it or the other way around or whatever, it is what it is. I respect your rights, so please respect mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
We went really deep with all this.
No, that's the best
Yeah,
thing. It's gonna make some pretty sick clips, I think. So
exactly. Yeah, and I mean, right now, all people, it seems like all society, or I wouldn't say all society, but a good chunk of society, all they care about now is hate and drama and everything. But that'll just create its own light in its own eyes. So I welcome the criticism. I welcome it. And all I see it as is an opportunity for me to figure out whether or not I'm in the wrong or if I am in the right and being pressured by society. But I will definitely say I will not sit by with idle hands and allow myself to be pushed around or stepped on when I feel I am given such knowledge and talents and I have no delusions of grandeur, nor do I feel like I am superior in any way. But when you feel like you are such a capable person and you feel like you have the capacity to make a change, you almost need to capitalize on it.
yeah, I mean that kind of is exactly what I was saying earlier with like
Mm,
realizing that you're capable of infinite excellence.
mhm,
So go get it. Like that's the maybe that is the burden of being in our position is feeling underqualified but still trying. Like
mm,
still trying to capitalize on what you can, scraping what you can out of it, and like we talked about it offline, I think, but just, like it's not going to be perfect in the beginning. This
mhm.
is whatever yours and my first year or so in YouTube. Like it's not going to be the same as a 10-year YouTube channel
Exactly.
that's been doing it for that long, perfecting it. And just to parallel that with uh, the way that things are going, like I don't mind if everything in the world goes the opposite to the way that I wanted. I mean, that is balance, right? It's like it's going
Mhm,
from this way to this way. And like maybe at first you go a little too far, so you got to overcorrect. But like
mhm.
eventually, once you find balance, it's just this little tiny back and forth. It's not
Yeah.
perfect, but you're still gonna like come over here a little bit, go over there
Yeah, a
a
little
little
bit like
bit. Like
teeter.
that is balance, right? So there's always gonna be a time whenever things aren't going our way, and then it's gonna bounce back and come our way and all that
Mhm.
jazz. So
Yeah.
um you just gotta find it. Just gotta bounce back and forth what's good, what's bad, and figure it out.
Yeah. And
So
like my mindset is, it's yeah, it's like you said, we're just starting out. Let us grow, let us thrive, let us acknowledge our mistakes and let us build ourselves. This is an evolution stage because we're coming from being just like normal people now entering into the spotlight and everything. So just let us grow, let us give us room for error and to grow based off of it, and watch us evolve into something beyond your wildest imagination and show and shock the world with what we're capable of.